Hi, welcome to the Handyverse. We're both really busy, and in order to give ourselves some more time to work on Handyverse projects, we did a freezer meal marathon to help out at mealtime, and we turned our freezer from this here
to this.
Stick with us.
Oh. Okay, welcome back to our kitchen. Today we're going to be making a series of freezer meals for a whole month. And what are we making today?
We are going to make some meatballs, chili, stuffed peppers, black bean burgers, lasagna, mini pizzas, pulled pork, chicken soup, frozen yogurt, breakfast burritos, breakfast cookies, and some banana bread.
And it's New Year's Eve, so we're going to try to finish all of this before the stroke of midnight when we turn into pumpkins.
Yeah.
And if you wanted to check out our website at handyverse.com, we're going to put all the recipes, links to all the recipes, and a compiled grocery list for everything that we needed for today's freezer meals.
We only have a small freezer, so this isn't something that you need a big deep freeze for. We have a small kitchen, standard size fridge, but it's just this small unit freezer that we have.
And I don't think you want to make so many meals that you need to use a deep freezer, because the idea is that you consume this food within a month, because otherwise you're going to get freezer burnt, and the food does continue to rot, although slowly, in your freezer. So I think limiting it to your fridge freezer is perfect.
One of the things we're also doing is we laid things out to try and make it as efficient as possible today. Suzanne said we want to be done before midnight. I'm hoping we're going to be done a long time before that. So really the first thing for us is to get the slow cooker going, because that's going to take the most amount of time. We have a few other things we're going to put in the oven, but that's only about an hour or so. The slow cooker is going to be hours. So let's do that first.
Mm-hmm. The pork is in the slow cooker for the next 8 hours. Now we're going to move on. Next step is to get roast our chicken in the oven, so that eventually we can make our stock and our chicken soup. Now we're just cooking the chicken. We always like to do both by time based on the recipe, but also using a probe to measure the internal temperature for safety reasons. So it's recommended to 180 for chicken. We have a ways to go. We're at 36. Okay, so we're feeling pretty good. It's half an hour and we've got 2 meals on the go. See if we can keep the pace going. The next, we want to get the meatballs formed and ready so that they're ready to go into the oven as soon as the chicken comes out. And Jason doesn't like to touch raw meat, so it falls to me again, I guess.
Hey.
our timer went off on the chicken an hour and 15 minutes, but you can see it's still not up to temperature, so hence the handiness of the internal temperature probe. At the same time, we're trying to get our chili going because we only have the one pot, so we chose a chili recipe that's really fast. So this chili will be done in about 15 minutes or so. Waiting for the last degree on the chicken, and then we're going to turn up the temperature and pop in our meatballs. Okay, this is definitely not a tutorial about how to cut a chicken or carve it properly. We are just taking off as much meat as we can to make our chicken stock so that we can make our chicken noodle soup. So now we're just going to turn down the chicken that's boiling in the water to make our chicken stock. And normally we probably would just buy chicken stock, but since we're going to be in the kitchen for several hours anyways, we're going to make our own. And then at about 3 o'clock we'll add the vegetables and simmer it for a little while longer before we make our soup. So the soup might actually end up being the last thing. And now the meatballs are cool, so that's the first meal that's actually complete, and we're going to freeze that, about 4 per serving. So this made 6 meals, and we're just going to put them in like little freezer bags so that we can thaw them out and throw them in with some pasta some evening for supper. Okay, so now we're going to make lasagna. We're going to make 2 since we're going through the steps, and this is a really easy lasagna. And something we were discussing, we regret a little bit of doing all the recipes with ground beef. It seems to be a little fattier than we had anticipated, but it is what it is. Suggestion would be to look for ground chicken or turkey if possible, and that would have been a little bit healthier, but it is what it is. Chili. Okay, so it's the afternoon, and what did we finish? We finished...
You checked it off on the board.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Meatballs are done in the freezer. If we were to do this again, I would double the quantity for meatballs because it felt like a lot of work for not a lot of meatballs. Chili was sufficient, that was lots. So we did that. Lasagna, 2 lasagnas are done, that was worth doubling. The pulled pork is still cooking, and the chicken soup is, we're currently making the broth. Okay, so now we're making frozen yogurt so we can use up these strawberries that were hand-picked by the expert, which you also known as Jason's father, but you can catch in a couple of our other videos. It's actually really delicious. 2 tips. We tried to make it using a double batch. I wouldn't do that unless you have a really big food processor. It took a while and I was worried it was going to get too watery. So we're going to do it again, but just with a single batch at a time. And we're putting these in these fantastic little tubs that from Costco we buy the margarine and save the tubs which are dishwasher, freezable, and microwavable. This has been simmering for 2 hours, and now we're going to add the veggies and the spices and then simmer it for another 2. Next up, black bean burgers. We're trying to balance out all of that beef with some veggies. And you don't want to overdo it because it'll get mushy.
Breakfast burritos.
It's starting to get dark outside and we're starting to get tired. But now we're gonna make stuffed peppers.
We're gonna take that off and cool it, let it cool.
Yes, let it cool before we wrap our burritos, so we'll come back to this. And our broth is coming along another 40 minutes and we'll make the chicken soup.
Okay, now we just want to wrap up the burritos. We're going to wrap them in parchment paper, so all we need to do is pull them out of the freezer, throw them in the oven for, I forget what it is, 20 minutes? Something like that. We'll put it up on the screen. It'll be right here. We ended up having a bit more than we needed. We didn't buy enough peppers, so we are just going to put the extra in the trays, since we have these little trays, and we're going to bake them like that. It'll still be good. It just won't look as pretty, but they'll be delicious.
Pinguino peppers.
Soup is done. We have it in the freezer. We put it in mason jars with the lids off, and if you do this at home, make sure that you leave the lids off when you freeze it, otherwise the bottle might explode. So we're still plugging through this. It's been a long day, but we're still going. We have 3 things left to do. We need to do our mini pizzas, our breakfast cookies, and the banana bread. And we realized that we only have 1 pan, and we planned to make 2 loaves of banana bread. That's going to take another 2 hours. So what we're going to do instead is do 1 loaf of banana bread and then a dozen muffins to go with it. Next thing we're going to do is drain the juice off the from the slow cooker for the pulled pork and get that back in and get that finished off. Whoa. Whoa, those are huge.
I know. Huge.
Huge.
Okay, we're coming to the end. Next up are some scrumptious breakfast cookies.
Okay, 16 minutes later, we have our breakfast cookies all ready to go, and they turned out pretty well, so happy with those. We're just going to put those in some Ziploc bags, drop them in the freezer. We're going to put our banana muffins in the freezer and fridge, and our banana loaf in the freezer. And last thing, finally, is the pizzas, so we're going to work on that now.
Ready?
There you have it. Long day, but now we have a freezer full of food that's good for hopefully a month. Should be longer, depending on how much else we cook as well.
If you want to see how we did it, check out our website at handyverse.com, where we'll have the recipes, the grocery list, and more. Thanks for watching.
Hit like, hit subscribe. We'll see you next time.